the recording. And at the end, Emily, remind me, the recording will only be me because I'm spotlit. But at the end, remind me and I'll turn it off if when we come to sharing and caring. So coming in for landing, just coming into your body, feeling what it feels like to be you right now. I'm seated on a little blanket on the floor. All of the things that we're going to do, you can either lay down, you can stand up, you can roll around, you can be seated. Really take it in whatever way feels good in your body, giving you full permission to experience this in whatever way feels the most nourishing for you. And it might mean that, oh, there's different things happening for me. I'm not doing exactly what she says. That's totally fine. This is like we're walking into the forest and we're looking around at what's interesting to us. And when we see those things, just stick with them. Stay with them for as long as your interest is in that direction. So another thing that came up for me as I was in this dive today with Mary is I noticed that I was like doing a lot of planning. And I was like, oh, I gotta tell everybody this. Like, I gotta tell everybody that. And then I was like, let it go. All that stuff will come up when it needs to come up. Let yourself have the experience yourself. And so that's the thing I want to offer really today with this idea of unwinding the pattern is that for this moment, for this hour, we actually dedicate our practice to ourselves. So it's not a dedication so that I can fix everything on the outside, but it's a dedication so that I can nourish myself. And then whatever happens after that happens. But this is really for you to come in for you. And so I'm going to start with my hand on my gut and my hand on my heart in the interest of bringing my head, my heart, and my gut body into coherence, into alignment together. And we'll do some coherent breathing. So coherent breathing means we inhale for 6 counts and we exhale for 6 counts. If my tempo isn't right for you, ignore me and breathe in your own tempo. It could be 5, it could be 4. So exhaling everything out just for a couple of minutes. We're going to inhale 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Exhale 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Inhale 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Exhale 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Inhale 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Exhale 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Inhale 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Exhale 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Inhale 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Exhale 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And letting your natural breath just resume whatever feels good for you to breathe. And from this place, we're just going to turn our heads, small turn from side to side. It doesn't have to be that you're going for the biggest range of motion. You're just taking in the environment, seeing what's around you in a very relaxed way, letting the world come into your eyes and giving your brainstem the information that you are safe, safe enough to start to downregulate, slow down, come into your own experience. So, what I'm really aware of as I'm turning my head from side to side is what it feels like to have a head and a neck, and like what's happening in my neck, what's happening in my jaw, my tongue. And not only to have a head and a neck, but a head and a neck that are on top of a body. So, feeling into the integration of your whole body mind system as you're turning your head from side to side and starting to slow it down a little bit. And your head may want to meander, so it might not just be like turning from side to side. It may like want to hang out in a little place, take a little bit longer somewhere, or move back and forth before going on. Let yourself have that A little bit more exploration, meandering, feeling what it's like to have a head and a neck on top of your body. And inviting yourself just to soften your experience. So even if it means like 3% less tension in your body, invite that 3% less tension just to melt as you're gently turning your head from side to side. And the other thing to say, we're not forcing our body into anything today. We're really listening in, tuning into what feels good in our own experience and not making huge changes by forcing this and changing that. Your body makes the choice, can say no anytime, can change the dynamics, can change the exercise in any way that it wants to. So giving your body the freedom. Start to bring it in a little smaller and smaller. You can close your eyes, making it smaller and smaller. Less and less movement until it barely feels like you're moving at all. And letting your attention and your awareness just rest in that place where it's almost not moving, but you can tell that you're still moving because you can feel that little itty bitty bit of movement. But from the outside, nobody, maybe people wouldn't be able to tell if you were moving. And as I go in there, my head kind of wants to back up, like my whole body kind of moves back, my awareness moves back and starts to drop down. It might be different for you. Just notice what happens with you on the level of awareness, on the level of sensation. So, throughout this whole exploration, we're going to invite in any micro movement that wants to happen, any macro movement that wants to happen, any kind of movement is absolutely welcome. And it could be almost nothing, or it could be a huge dance. So, anything that feels good to you. We're going to start with a breath sound. It's called the theta breath. It's your tongue just behind your teeth, and it's a soft hiss like that. And you're just going to invite your head tail connection, the central channel from your pelvic floor to your head, from your sit bones out through the crown of your head, just to free up a little bit. So we'll have that. And you can imagine that you're almost like a flickering flame, or it could be like water trickling down a stone, anything that has that little bit of movement, and inviting that movement into your head tail connection, into your spine, into your nervous system. So we'll work with the theta with this head tail free flow mobility with either like the image of a flame flickering or water just channeling down, a trickle of water channeling down. And we'll do that for a couple of minutes. Really gentle hiss, like steam releasing from a radiator. And we're letting go of the idea of alignment or posture being a rigid structure, but we're opening up to the idea of alignment being a dynamic, shifting, adjusting, changing intelligence. And inside of that space, there's freedom. As we move in these tiny little ways, letting our spine, our vertebra, our discs, our vertebrae, our discs have a little bit more spaciousness, a little bit more diversity in the relationship from disc to disc or from vertebrae to disc. just giving it some aliveness and vitality. Inviting your inner dancer into the movement, the non-judgmental, creative, childlike free flow force of that version of your inner dancer. Inviting ripples, waves, undulations into your movement, flickers and trickles. And you could imagine that you're going into some kind of outdoor natural environment, like it could be the forest, it could be the ocean, it could be a river, but imagining that you're entering that kind of alive, vital, we don't know what could happen in here space of the forest, the maybe even a cave at the water's edge, anything that is like the natural world, letting go of the sort of man-made world and tuning into the natural world in whatever way comes up for you. Maybe it's a beach, maybe it's a mountain, maybe it's the grasslands, who knows? And letting that energy, inviting that energy into your body, into your system. And as we're in this space with these trickles and flickers, allowing your awareness to sort of dance through the environment, just checking it out. What's it like to be in here? What is curious? What's interesting? Taking off the backpack of cultural expectations and even your own expectations, taking off the backpack of perfectionism. And if you have an inner critic, oh, my internet's unstable, so I'm kind of probably coming in and out right now. If you have an inner critic, just let them sit on the bed or go sit in the chair or leave the room entirely. Just don't give them your attention. Coming into the pre-inner critic, childlike, free flow, freedom to open and to play. And then letting that breath sound come to an end, just feeling into where you are now. And we're going to do another breath sound. So this breath sound is called Sat Chit, like yoga, Sat Chit Ananda, which is like eternal, excuse me, eternal bliss, knowing. But we're just doing Sat Chit. So the Sat part of that is eternal, and the Chit part is like vision sort of mixed with knowledge. So we're tuning into that layer of ourself, which is this, we could say, the part of us that's always been there, the sort of awake awareness part of us that is having the experience at all times, whether we're sleeping, the one who's having the dream, whether we're awake, the one who's having the dream, but the one who's been there with us all the time. So tuning into that layer of self. And the sat chit sounds are like this. I'm just going to come a little closer so you can see my mouth. It's like you're just making the s, t, ch, t. And it doesn't, it's in any order. The idea with the sort of unwinding the pattern is that we're letting it play a little bit with these sounds for some diversity. So it's not like, oh, here I am, I do my things. It's like, oh, what is this? And the sat chit to me is very bird-like. So it's like little birds chirping and checking it out. And it's also got this sort of staccato sounds. So there's little pops. So inviting that sound into your body and seeing what your body thinks of that sound. And it's not, there's no right or wrong about it. We're playing with it. You want to try and keep changing the pattern. So it's like, oh, I'm going to go this way. Now it's going to go that way. So there's not like a sat chit and a sat chit, sat chit. It's like just a play, letting the sound vibration kind of pop in your mouth in different ways. And if you feel like it's kind of exhausting or like, what are we even doing? Just take resting breaths, move in any way that you want to. Feeling in your own face, in your head, how those sounds kind of reverberate and what kind of like, if they were, if we could see the vibrational level, what would be going on in there? Just imagining into that. Taking resting breaths whenever you need them. Inviting in the whole imaginal practice. What if you had this eternal self with that was visionary and knowing as you make these noises, what comes up? And at the same time, you don't need to know anything, just letting yourself have the experience. So for me, I'm noticing that my fingers are getting really into this. They're out off camera, but like they're kind of like, oh, there's this little going on. So it might be interesting to think of the peripheral parts of your body, your fingers, your toes, the crown of your head, your tail, awakening this wholeness that reaches out to the very edge of your body. If each of those sounds was a pebble dropped in a clear pond, it would be radiating out, rippling out. So inviting that idea into your body. Or it's maybe like a rain pitter-pattering. I'm letting that one come to a close. So we're going to do one more breath sound, and I'm going to invite a position to play with, which kept coming up for me today. And you could do this. I'll show you a few different versions of it. You could be seated cross-legged anyway, or and just taking it kind of forward. Like it could be that way, it could be this way, it could be this way. I'm probably going to sit on my thing with my knees bent and just like planting my hands, like almost like a dog or a cat would sit. And then I'm just going to let my spine free flow a little bit, thinking of really, I think we tend to hold a lot of tension in our pelvises and our butts and our backs. So letting yourself like find what it's like to have this spine, reach out with your tail, push into the floor, finding this sort of strength of the ground underneath you, this grounded, stable position in your body. If this is uncomfortable, you could lay down, you can be in any other position, it's totally fine. Just offering this one as an idea, which it seemed to come up in a bunch of people in the workshop today. And by a bunch, I mean 3. We were in this a lot. So we're going to make an O sound. So the O is going to be like this. O. 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 kind of play with my tongue inside of my mouth. So it's moving. Like if this is my mouth, my tongue is in there, kind of going up to the top, down to the bottom, pulling back. Tongue has some freedom to undulate inside of my mouth. So playing with that and inviting this movement into your body. It might be a lot to do both. You might want to do one and then do the other. It's up to you. Inviting your animal body to this sense of groundedness and fluidity. There's the flow of the breath, the vibration of sound, and just feeling what it feels like to push on the floor, to arch, curl, ripple, wave, spiral your spine. Doesn't have to be big, it could be very small and gentle. Work within a range that feels good to you. And don't feel like you have to stay in any position for very long. You can keep moving around, but just give it a try every once in a while coming into this, seeing if it offers you anything. Yeah, I feel like a little bit like a gargoyle on a building, protecting the building. So a lot of times, like when you first start doing sort of somatic practice stuff like this, it's easy to notice what feels painful. So, which is fine. And then we often try to keep fixing the painful thing, which is also fine. But try to also feel what feels good. And you can kind of move yourself back and forth between the painful things in your body and the things that feel delicious and good, and spend sort of equal time in the oh yummy and the oh. Then the other thing to say is we want to be very kind and generous with our own emotional experience. Sometimes when we're moving our bodies, things can be emotional, like, oh, there's a little pocket of something that I haven't quite dealt with here. So freedom to have expression, have emotions, be with your own body in this experience. And the idea of like unwinding the pattern is giving yourself enough nourishment through breath, the vibration of sound, and micro movement or macro movement that your body can start to go, oh, maybe I don't need to hold that tension over there. Oh, maybe the assumption that I made about this way of being isn't serving me anymore, and I can start to change. So a lot of times when we have patterns in our bodies, we've developed them incredibly intelligently to survive the environment we're in. And then as we get older, they don't always serve us as well. So letting yourself unwind any of that constricting tightness in how you hold yourself, who you are, who you think you are, and letting it kind of soften 3% so that there's a little bit more spaciousness in there. I am going to take this, get off of this, and I'm going to get down on the floor and move more. And I'll guide a little bit, but adding sound. You can use any of the sounds, like come back to the soft hiss, theta breath, or the sat chit, or the ooh, anytime you want. But now is time to let yourself really explore. In this exploration, let me get the music on. And as usual, this is Jeff Gersh, Ambient Fields. In this exploration, we can also we're going to give ourselves a little squishing. So letting yourself come in, maybe a little body hug, but giving your body some tactile touch, the Department of Redundancy department. Just squeezing, bringing it online. Whatever parts of your body need a little squeeze. It's like the information is coming from the inside, but also now from the outside. And in the squeezing, allow yourself to feel what it's like to squeeze and what it's like to be squeezed. Little compression hugs. Around your body. As strong or as soft or as gentle as feels good to you. Again, letting the judge, the critic, be somewhere else. No need to judge yourself in this. On the body level, it's energy, it's temperature, it's sensation, it's not judgment. And I'm just going to take it down to the floor and start to rolling around, getting the floor compression, the hug from the floor. Slowing down to whatever tempo feels good, maybe even stillness. Seeing what feels good in your body. And if you feel sort of at a loss for what to do, just try rolling from side to side. See if you can slow it down, really feeling your connection to the floor, letting your energy ground. Allowing your body to settle down, to settle in like a calm, nourishing way. And if your mind is wandering again, come back to feeling, come back to the movement. What does it feel like to move, even in the tiniest little bit? What does it feel like to connect to the floor or to yourself? And as you're in there, is there anything to let go of? Is there anything to release? softening your grasp. Inviting your body, the whole system of your body, into coherence, meaning your mind, your heart, your guts are in alignment. Your blood flow is working with your respiration, it's working with your digestion, it's working with your hormones for your health, so that you feel good in your body, so that you're operating in a way that feels good in your body, that is serving, nourishing, and kind to your body. And letting yourself move in any way. Exploring the flickers of your own inner fire, your own passion, your own aliveness. And the fire can burn stuff away fast, right? It's like, oh, I have this thing I've been holding on to. It can be gone in a flash, right? Let the fire of your own system just burn away anything that you don't need to hold on to. The water in your body, the trickles, the ocean of body can wash it away. The earth can compost it. And everything's going to change anyway, because we are always in movement, right? Our bodies, our living process is movement. Heartbeat, blood flow, lymphatic flow, cerebrospinal fluid flow. Every breath is movement. And even our cells are breathing. Generous with yourself. And when we come into real coherence with our system, our body-mind system, it's really easy to make choices, because your body knows yes to this, no to that. And you're not as pushed by outside influences. Oh, I should do this, but it feels wrong to me, but I should do it. You're like, no, can't do that, sorry. So permission to deeply nourish your own self, deeply nourish and care for yourself. You are the main ingredient in your life. And while everyone around you and all the things, the 10,000 things, they all matter too. But the more you flourish, the better it is for them. Coming back to this idea of the natural environment, and maybe it's changed, maybe it's something different now, but coming back to the idea of the natural environment, and let yourself on the imaginal level discover what it's like to be in there. Maybe just from the internal imagination level. The cave of the water curtain. whatever it is in your environment, just invite it in. Miniature horses. And in this place, just asking yourself, is there anything I can forgive myself for? Shame, right? A lot of people have a lot of shame. Maybe I can soften that a little bit, or forgive myself, or understand I was doing my best. Not take it on. Shame and guilt, jealousy, the things that we kind of inflict upon ourselves. Is there any of that I can just wash away in this natural environment, with the trees, with the water, with the birds? Inviting spaciousness into your experience. There's room in there for you, for whichever version of you are, for however you show up. Letting your own personal pattern soften, melt, redesign itself. Maybe it's a weaving that's changing, or a spider web. Whatever image, allowing on the imaginal level some disentangling, combing the pattern in a very gentle way, not so that it pulls or hurts, but just, maybe I can just smooth this out over here. Maybe there's more space for this over here, or I can untie this little knot. If you soften your pattern, you're not going to fall apart. Sometimes people think that their anger is what holds them together, or their power, their grit. But what if it's our vulnerability, our aliveness, our vitality, our capacity to move through and with our emotions? And our capacity to allow other people to be who they are. We don't need to fight who other people are. They can be who they are. Even if we don't like it, right? We don't have to fix everybody. And not only that, we can't. We can only really work with ourselves, the choices that we make. exhalation, things are changing. You're filling up with new breath. You're letting go of old breath. As you breathe, the lungs are hugging your heart. Your heart is beating into your lungs, right? The blood from the heart goes to the lungs. It comes back to the heart. It feeds the heart first, and then it goes out to the rest of your body. Out to those distal edges, those capillary beds, where it turns around and comes back as the venous flow. So the heart and the system of the blood moving through your body is nourishing, it's bringing oxygen, and it's taking back CO2 and waste. And this kind of down regulation is an invitation to let the fluid flow in your body move any inflammation or reabsorb anything that's getting calcified or stuck. So inviting the blood flow and the movement to have the intelligence to move whatever needs to move away, whatever needs to clear. Giving yourself permission to change, to be different, to call in whatever it is you desire in your life, to shift things, to massage yourself into what feels good in your body. Cameras going in and out of focus. It's going to be interesting. Allowing things to come in and out of focus, without the need to grasp and fix, just letting them be what they are. Sometimes we have great ideas and they come through and then they move away. And maybe something else comes through and it moves away. It's part of the flow of life. Letting yourself tune into whatever's going on, whatever you're noticing, whatever you're feeling, and just asking, what is going on? What's even happening here? And being able to be in the question without locking in any answer, just to notice whatever's coming into your awareness. Finding the tempos of your body, the flows, letting them adjust like alchemy, right? Alchemizing your own experience. Life can be magical if we tune to our sense of wonder, if we keep moving towards what's interesting, what draws us in, what's curious. Taking off the coat of old Laura and running around naked for a little while before I put on another coat of new Laura, right? Letting ourselves have some freedom. Letting your exploration be as big or as micro as feels good to you. Ripples, whirlpools, eddies, trickles. Sometimes we lock ourselves into our knowing, and that's how it is. What if it isn't like that? What if it's not? What if we can be more open? Or maybe less bound up by our system of beliefs. There's a lot of great shadows in this room right now. Into the fire of your own spirit, the flickering, maybe it's embers, maybe it's a big bonfire. And just moving with it. Is there anything that, any information, any wisdom that your spirit wants you to know, the fiery vitality of you? Is there any wisdom from the watery nature of your body? we are somewhere between 60 and 80% water, depending on how old we are. I think when we're babies, we're like 90% water. And as we get older, we become more fibrous. And one of my teachers, and Terry also has studied with, Liz Koch, says, we're all going to get old and our tissue's going to age, but we don't have to get dehydrated. We can keep moving. We can stay fluid. And it doesn't mean doing intense exercise all the time, although that could be part of it, but having some flow in our body. Movement hydrates tissue. And sometimes the more diverse and three-dimensional the movement is, the more vitalizing it is, the less it locks us down. I'm going to fade out that music and just give us a few minutes to participate with ourselves on the silent level in whatever's going on that isn't conceptual or isn't, I mean, maybe that's coming through too, which is totally fine. But what's happening on the level of movement, on the level of the breath, on the level of the heart, on the level of your spirit? What's happening below the non-conceptual level, below conception? And just tuning into that, listening in whatever way feels good to you, without having to try, just letting it come to you, whatever it is. And maybe it's nothing, or maybe there is information. Moving or in stillness. It is possible that when we let go of everything that we're holding on to and clenching, we might get bashed around a little. It is possible. But then maybe we will find our resilience, right? We'll find, oh, I actually, that didn't hurt that much. I can now have a little bit more ease. Maybe. Alrighty. Oh, yes, my coming in and out of focusness. I am going to stop the recording.